Namaste, and thank you for being you. Thank you for being exactly who and what you are, and thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about creation. So, we've talked about metaphysics and quantum physics. We've talked about the spiritual implications of those metaphysical principles. For example, quantum entanglement and the universe being not locally real, which means that it is always being impacted by our perception and our expectations. Quantum entanglement is that there are particles on opposite sides of the universe that are intimately connected and are impacting each other. And this is happening all the time with all things. So these are some of like the metaphysical quantum physics things that have spiritual implications, like, wow, what does it mean for each other and for our sense of self when we know that we are all connected? So we talked about metaphysics, we talked about the spiritual implications, we talked about the revolution, which is my word for the awakening that's happening right now. The tone of truth of these metaphysical principles and the implications that they have for us, this tone of the truth of who and what we are. Everything is energy and vibration. And when we really start to wake up to that, it starts to shift things within us. And that's the revolution. And that's what's happening individually for many people. And that's what's kind of happening to the collective. Humanity is awakening into its realization that what it is as a collective is maybe different than what we have thought, what I have thought. The societal norms of like us versus them, and like there's winners and losers, so you better be a winner, stuff like that. It just doesn't really cut the mustard anymore in light of all of these things that are coming to light, coming into the light of awareness of so many of us individually, so many of us in groups and collectives, so many of us quantum entangled in this collective oneness that in truth we are. So things are shifting. That's what's happening right now in the revolution. So when we kind of extend that whole line from metaphysics, spiritual implications, the revolution, oh my gosh, what comes next is creation. So today I want to talk about what happens when this revolutionary wave impacts us. And it raises these questions like, what is my responsibility here? What are my opportunities in this new emerging reality that we're all kind of tuning into in our own ways? What are my responsibilities? What are my opportunities? And how do I step into that responsible opportunity? So I just want to start with a quick review of some of those metaphysical basics, some of those spiritual implications. So as I mentioned, everything is energy in vibration. There's more space in every atom than there is actual mass, actual matter. And what it is, what every atom really is like, it's an energetic field. And that's what we are. That's what everything is. It's energetic fields, waveforms in interaction. And our thoughts, our beliefs, our words, our actions, these are also waveforms interacting with other waveforms. And that is the tone that we are transmitting. Because remember, energy and vibration, waveforms, can be understood as like a light wave, like a sound wave. So I'm saying tone here kind of as a metaphor, and really kind of like literally, like it literally is like, it is sound. So our beliefs, our words, our actions, our thoughts, this is like the sound that we are. That's the tone that we are and that we are emitting, and that is impacting all of the energy and all of the waveforms around us, including each other, including our perceived reality. Energies that are of a similar frequency support each other. When a tuning fork can vibrate at a certain frequency and another tuning fork that is emitting that frequency comes close to it, then the other tuning fork starts to vibrate at that same frequency. Like attracts like amplifies like. And so the tone that we are, both attracts and amplifies and brings into our awareness tones that are similar with the frequency that we are. So therefore, our perceptions can really only reflect the energetic terrain that we are aligned to, that we are vibrationally aligned to. It's like it's the key that we're tuned to. So in that sense, we are creating our reality by the energetic tone that we are. We're creating it. We are creators of our reality via our thoughts, via our beliefs. So in consideration of the holographic nature of the universe, so that's like all of the whole is present in each of the parts and vice versa. This creative capacity where we are creating our reality based on the tone that we're emitting, this can be understood as the creative aspect of God that is present in each and every one of us. And in consideration for the fractal nature of the universe, so fractals exhibit self-similarity. So that's like when you look at a whole tree with all the branches, you see the general shape of it. If you cut off one of the branches and you turn it on its side so that the branch stem is into the earth, it basically looks like a tree. You cut off a smaller branch, you do the same thing. It resembles a tree at smaller and smaller fractal levels. So this is how the universe operates, largely in fractal self-similarity. So in consideration of the fractal nature of the universe, this creative capacity that we have is present and active at the level of the individual. That's my sense of me as Katie, and also every macro and micro level above and beyond and below and beyond, including cellular, including interpersonal, including like relational, communal, and collective. So we are participating in creation on all of these multiple levels of the self that we are. And, because of quantum entanglement, just because of like everything is connected, each one of these levels informs every other level. So the collective level of creation informs the individual level, informs the cellular level, and vice versa, all the way. So this is how the creative aspect of God creates through us at every level. This is God creating through us as us at every level, which kind of like that, for me, that impacts my sense of what I am. It impacts my sense of what I can do. That gets into that whole like opportunity, like creation is not just something that happened, past tense. This is something that is actively happening. This is happening. Creation is happening, and we are all in participation with creation, as the creation and as the creator at multiple fractal levels. Because when I think that I have been created, and this is a past tense thing, then it's like, okay, I was created, and then from here it's like, well, that active phase is kind of complete, and then I'm accumulating greater distance from my original templating. And that just feels fatalistic to me. It also elicits a sense of guilt that I'm just by existing, I'm deviating, I'm on like a a deviational journey. So this fatalistic view of what I am, what we all are on this deviational journey from our original templating, that shifts in light of the revolution. That shifts in our dawning awareness of what we really are and what we really can do here together. We are created to create. And not just create art or inventions or children. Like these are all wonderful creations. These are all wonderful expressions of the Creator creating through us. But also we are truly, fully capable in participating in the creation of reality itself. This is profound. This is profound. And I hope you're understanding now why I spent so much time explaining the metaphysical basics and reviewing it every time and bringing to mind those personal implications, the spiritual implications, and why I was talking about the revolution and what is happening and why this is happening, because this is humbling. This is humbling, to say the least. It's difficult to fathom. It can be difficult to fathom. And it's important to kind of wrap our minds around how this creative aspect functions through us holographically and fractally, so that our ego doesn't pick up on the idea and go run wild with it, because that's what egos love to do. So it's like when I'm saying that I am a creator and you are a creator and we create our reality individually and our shared reality collectively, I am not saying that Katie, like my narrative sense of self, is that powerful. Now this is really tricky. This is really subtle stuff here. So it's like the ego knows itself as separate from the whole. That's part and parcel of the identity of the ego. It knows itself as separate. And that is where the ego death comes in, because it's when it is an intrinsic part of the identity to know itself as separate. And then with the dawning of the revolution, it's like, we are not separate. We are not separate from each other. We are not separate from our source. With that dawning awareness, to the extent that the ego identifies with separateness, that is going to end. That sense of self functionally dies. But it doesn't mean that that's the end of Katie. It doesn't mean that that's the end of our narrative sense of self. What it is a change of position of exactly who is in the driver's seat. The ego is still present and participatory, because remember, it's like nothing is kicked out of the oneness. Nothing can be separate from the oneness. The ego thinks it's separate, and to that extent, that self-concept has to die. But the narrative self is still present. But when we get into creation of reality, the ego's gonna have to take a back seat. So when we align to this expanded sense of self that's inclusive of our personality self, then we can speak to the responsibility and the opportunities and the how to at the level of the individual self. So that's why it's important to really make a distinguishment here that this is not about the ego, but it includes the ego. And we can speak to the function of the individual self, but not from a perspective of isolated and separate selves that have nothing to do with each other, because that negates the whole thing. And then we gotta kind of go through it all again. So can we speak at the level of individual self as one layer of this continuous sense of self? Yes. Okay, I've decided it. Yes, we can. So that's what we're going to move forward with, okay? So now at this level of individual self, so that's like me, Katie, I'm an individual. What is my responsibility when it comes to creation? What are my opportunities? And how do I step into this? Well, as I see it, the responsibilities are, first of all, to understand that we are vibratory creative beings and that our vibration, which is our thoughts, our beliefs, our energy, our attitude, this is creative. So we got to own that. You can't go anywhere unless you start from exactly where you are. And you can't affect anything unless it's yours. You own it. So we got to just own up to our responsibility here that we are vibratory beings and that we are creative beings and that it is our vibration that is creative. And when we lean in to our revolution, we are tuning ourselves to the tone of truth. And the tone of truth is our fundamental frequency. That's our resonant frequency. Everything, it's like a wine glass. Like a wine glass, it has its own inherent frequency. And this is how opera singers can break the glass when they are singing that resonant frequency so loud that the glass is having such a time with it. That is the tone that it is most expressive of. And the tone of truth, the truth of our nature, all of those metaphysical, all of those spiritual implications, the truth that we are all connected, the truth that we are connected with our source, that we've never been separate, that everything is energy and vibration, and everything is malleable, everything is now, everything is present. All of these truths, as we are waking up to this truth, we are waking up to the truth of who we are. And as we align into the momentum of that tone of truth, the tone itself will alter and magnify our vibration. We are playing so many tones all at the same time. We're just like a whole orchestra. We're just like all up and down the piano keyboard. We're playing so many tones at the same time. But truth is our resonant frequency, and that will overtake the other tones and become our predominant sound. It will gain amplitude and it will gain clarity, and this impacts our vibration. So this revolution that we're moving through, good news, it's going to support us in creating in truth. So it's a responsibility to attend to your revolution. It's a responsibility to understand your impact as a vibratory being, as a creative being. But it's the tone of truth itself that aligns you and that does the creation in truth. You align to that tone and you functionally become that truth, but it's not the ego's idea of truth, okay? That muddies some things up. So it is once again, it's about the ego getting in the back seat. There's some surrender here, surrendering to the tone of truth. And it is a matter of free will. Free will matters. Free will applies. So the tone of truth will overtake the other tones, because it's like truth is true. What is true is true. And we can kind of like hide from it and deny it and really go pretty hard in all of that hiding and denial. And we have. But ultimately, what's true is true, and it doesn't need to fight or compete with that which isn't true. There's no competition. But truth can only be experienced and like vibratorily known when it is chosen. When we, in our free will, choose to align to it and allow it. It's not choosing it and demanding it and directing it. It's choosing to be willing to be aligned to it. Choosing to put the ego in the back seat and let the journey of the revolution teach you, and stay open to how it teaches you and to what it has to teach you. This is how we engage in our responsibility here. It is our responsibility to know ourselves as vibratory beings, to know ourselves as creative vibratory beings, to choose the revolution, to attend to our revolution, to practice our intonation in listening to truth, attending to truth, aligning to truth, and then allowing the truth to move through us, letting our ego kind of take a back seat, letting that different way of it's a different way of being, a different way of conceiving of the self, and a different way of being, and letting that being emerge. So that's our responsibility. Know that you're a vibratory being. Know that you are creative. Choose your revolution and let the ego get into the back seat and allow the revolution to move. Just keep on practicing your intonation. Those are our responsibilities. Now, there are opportunities here too for the individual self. This is the level of reality, the level of being that we're talking about at the individual self. There's opportunities here too. The big opportunity right off the bat is like, hey, we create the world. We are not helpless. We're not powerless. So there's an opportunity to just like step into that empowerment. It is yours. You are welcome to it. It has always been accessible. It has always been available. And increasingly now, with this revolution that's happening for so many people, the tone of truth is increasingly accessible. It's increasingly accessible. So it feels to me like it's easier than it ever has been to align to that truth and to feel that within you. So let that empowerment move through you. It is yours. And another opportunity is when we're not a victim, we don't need to be saved. We don't need to be saved. When there's no door on the prison cell, when there's no jailer present, we can just walk out. So there's an opportunity there to lean into our empowerment as creators and lean into the liberation that emerges there when we're realizing that which keeps us down is of our own creation. I'm not saying that just goes away in an instant, but I'm saying that there's hope there. At the very least, there's hope there. Liberation is our natural state. Empowerment is our natural state. So the opportunity is to increasingly align into that, increasingly attuned to that. Now, as this revolution continues, and it will, what happens is that a lot of the structures that we've created are self-concept structures, the ways that we validate and affirm our sense of self in the old construct of separation and limitation, where we did conceive of ourselves as victims, where we did conceive of ourselves as powerless. Those constructs, the more we align to the tone of truth, to our inherent freedom, our inherent power, we can't take those structures with us. And this is true collectively too. We've built structures that are informed, impregnated with that sense of separateness. And it's not going to hold together as the revolutionary wave continues. When you move ice into a warmer and warmer environment, it can't hold its form as ice. So it's just like that. It's not like the structures that we've created are bad and they must be destroyed, or that like there's a battle and everything that we've known as our firmament is suffering. It's simply physics. It's simply physics. The structures that were built in fear and separateness, they can't make that journey to the higher frequencies, our fundamental inherent frequencies, as empowered, as liberated, as intimately and intrinsically interconnected. So this is going to be happening more and more. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing it. Like the ways in which you're seeing yourself are shifting. This can be very uncomfortable. The ways that you've known yourself to be are shifting. Your life, your creation is shifting to reflect that. It's happening. I know it's happening for you. So take a look at your life. If you don't see it right away, take a look. How has your life shifted to reflect your journey of your revolution in closer and closer alignment to these foundational, fundamental truths? Take a look around our culture. How are our collective constructs shifting? And what's happening as they shift? A lot of times there can be resistance to that change. Change is scary. Change is not easy. Nobody said that this is easy. There can be resistance to it. There can be like new ideas, like outside of the box thinking of like, wait a minute. But aren't we all equal? You know, it's like these basic concepts are just like resonating deeper with some people, with a lot of people, intermittently, and then we resist it. The same people take 10 steps forward on their revolutionary journey, 20 steps backwards, 15 the next day. Like it's all happening. But a lot of this change that we're seeing, all of these 10 steps forward, 20 steps back, all of these experiences that we're moving through individually, I'm telling you, we can trace the line. We know where this is going, and it is going in the direction of truth. It is going in the direction of empowerment. It is going in the direction of creation and responsibility and freedom. True liberation. Not from each other. We are all one. It's liberation from that which we have created individually, in relationship, throughout history. And all of these things are ideas held in mind. And any idea can change. And a change of any idea can and does and will change reality. As this revolutionary wave continues, and it will, even though we feel ourselves moving back and forth, leaning into the change and falling back into resistance, and this back and forth is exhausting, we know where the trajectory is going. So we can set our long-range sights on that revolutionary shift, on liberation, empowered responsibility, freedom. So although we are feeling this back and forth confusion sometimes of like leaning 20 feet into the revolution and taking 20 steps back into the old ways and going back and forth, and we're seeing these structures around us start to crumble as they no longer can be held together, as the collective is moving through this shift, as we are aligning more and more towards the tone of truth. And these structures built in fear and built in separateness can no longer be held in the field that we are co-creating. This can be very challenging. This can be very disorienting, but we know where this trajectory is going. It's going where it can only go. It is moving towards truth. So our opportunities here are to see that long range, where we're going, and to anchor our hope there. We will go back and forth. We're going to go back into doubt. We're going to explore the doubt, but we will come back into faith. We're going to go back into fear. And then we're going to realize that we don't need to hold that anymore and that it doesn't serve us where we're going. Now, as we're going through this back and forth, this uncomfortable, amazing growth process into our full inheritance, our full knowing of ourselves as aspects of the Creator, working together to create our reality in closer alignment with that which is true. What do we do on the personality level? What do we do at this individual level when it gets very difficult and a lot of the things that seemed like it was the right thing to do, now it just like doesn't make any sense? Like, what do we do? Okay, so we've talked about our responsibilities. We've talked about our opportunities. Now, what do we do? I call it energetic navigation. And it is, for me, a new way of navigating. It's a new way of informing choices. And I've found it to be, at this point, the most reliable source of information that informs choices that I feel is available to me. You know, you got your sensory perceptions. You got your past history to draw upon. You got like the advice of other people and perceived authorities. Like there's a lot of different sources of information to draw upon when making a decision. And in this emerging new terrain, where a lot of the old things that used to make sense, like a lot of the trust that we put into those perceived authorities, it just doesn't hold water anymore. So what I'm suggesting, energetic navigation, is what you feel and letting it teach you the difference between yes and no. So when you are in an encounter with something, maybe there's an opportunity, an invitation, a task set before you, and you feel expansion. You feel a lift. You feel that bubbling excitement, even a little bit. I'm not saying that you need to be like giggling and laughing and running laps. If you do, that's great. And if you just feel a little bit, this like little swell in your heart, a little bit, that's a yes. That's your energetic system communicating a yes. And if instead you feel heavy, foggy, confused, there's more doubt, that's a no. And it doesn't necessarily mean that what you're looking at, what you're interacting with, is bad for you. But it does mean, at the very least, that there is a belief within you that's not making that option possible from a place of ease. So it might be worth considering doing some self-inventory of what are the beliefs that you are holding on to, that you are creating from, that would make that doubt and inhibition make sense. Like, for example, if there's a belief that like people will laugh at you, or that what you have to say isn't good enough, for example, that belief it's not in alignment with truth. It's not in alignment with truth. You are fundamentally worthy. You can't not be worthy. So that belief is not in alignment with truth, and that might be creating that kind of crushing experience that you have. But your revolutionary journey will reveal for you those things that you need to see, that need to be addressed. Trust your process. Like, your revolutionary journey will bring those beliefs to the forefront, and they will be addressed in their own time. What you should do is that lift. When you act on that lift, that is practicing your intonation. That's practicing listening to that tone, letting that tone resonate as you and feeling it, and acting upon it. You are bringing it from the energetic ethereal into action. And it, as far as I can tell right now, like, it really is as simple as feeling like, what is it right now? What is it that gives you that little sense of lift, that little sense of expansion? That's what you do. That's your next step. Do that, and then feel into it again. What is giving you that sense of lift and expansion? Do that. Those are your marching orders that are coming from the tone of truth. As far as I can understand, that's how this goes. And when you lean into that expansiveness, you lean into that sense of empowerment, and you demonstrate to yourself that you are empowered, because you can act on that. You can express from that place. You demonstrate that to yourself. That's practicing your tone. That's enhancing and magnifying and grounding your tone in your reality as a personality self, as an individual. It's a bold move. It's a power move. And we can do this. And a lot of times, what I've heard from a lot of people, a lot of times it is those things that we feel sheepish about. And there's doubts like, well, this isn't going to make any money. Or like, I think my sister would think this is dumb. And there's those like sweet, insecure, like childlike inhibitions. But if you feel that little bit of lift and expansion, I'm willing to bet that the tone of truth is there to support you in taking that action. And I'm willing to bet that this world, this reality that we're co-creating together, will be benefited by that which your energy, your heart, that knowing and that little sense of lift is calling you to do. I feel that it's important. I feel that this is your energy training you on how to step into the tone of truth and how to step into your empowered responsibility as a creator and co-creator at the individual level, and understand that you are participatory at the cellular level and at the collective level. It is happening. We are doing this, and we're doing it together. And I'm so grateful for you. You know that if this is resonating for you, then this is for you. This is your own self speaking to you. And you understand that you resonating into your truth, feeling that expansion, it touches all of us. You are truly in service to the collective. And we are so grateful for you. Namaste. Thank you.